everybody, welcome to episode 43 of the Brooklyn Knitfolk podcast. My name is Jaclyn. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and basically any social media as at Jaclyn Salem. Thank you so much for joining me today. First and foremost, I just want to say hello to any new people. There's always a spike in subscribers, especially after Vlogmas. So I hope you guys really enjoyed Vlogmas. I loved doing it and putting the videos together. It's always a bit of a come down after I do Vlogmas because I'm just like so used to like, oh my gosh, I have to be filming this right now. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, I don't. I can calm down a little bit. It's okay. So it's always really weird whenever I finish up Vlogmas, but I hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday season. It is in the middle of January right now. It is absolutely freezing outside, but blazing hot in this apartment because, as a lot of New York City apartments go, I have no control over the heating in here, so I have a window that's cracked right now. So if you hear street noise, such as this plane flying overhead, without further ado, let's get into the episode. I anticipate this will probably be a little bit longer of an episode than usual because I have a whole basket right here, and something just fell out of it, of every single work in progress that I have right now. So I figured I would go through all of the whips, whether or not I am like actively right this second working on them, just to kind of set the tone for the new year. See what I have right now that I've been working on. I worked through a lot of stash last year, and I also designed some things, which I'm so thrilled and still floored, and I just get super giddy whenever anybody knits my patterns or buys a pattern. Thank you so much for your support. I really cannot tell you how happy it makes me to see that you guys are loving the patterns I designed too. Anyway, I worked through a lot of my stash last year, so that's why I don't feel super bad about buying anything really lately, although I'm definitely putting a pause on it now because I have plenty. I want to knit again through the yarns that I have. So let's get into the knitting, shall we? So the first project that I will show you is living in my pink Hazel knits bag. This was a gift from Kelsey of the Primrose Yarn Company. She sent her and Eric of Sticks Plus Twine got together and sent me a really amazing, like it was crazy. I was shocked. Amazing package through Vlogmas, which you might have seen. Or I showed it on Vlogmas, not because of Vlogmas, but they sent me an amazing package, and in that package was this pink Hazel project bag, which is giant. Like it holds, this is a 6 skein project, for example, that's in here. And this thing is amazing. I love this bag. So thank you so much for that, Kelsey. So in it is holding my What the Fade, which it was a mystery knit pattern by Andrea Mowry, who designs a lot of the fade patterns that I'm sure you've seen. And I did not knit this as part of the mystery knit along. I just wanted to knit it because my wonderful friend Stacy, who is Stress Knits, had one, and I loved hers so much that I considered stealing it from her. So I thought, well, maybe I should just knit my own. So that's what I've been doing. It is a 6 skein, like I said, project. And man, oh man, this thing is giant. I'm on the second to last, so I'm working on one, and I have one more after this of the garter section at the end. So it's just really long rows of garter stitch right now. It's got somewhere in the 500 range right now, and it will have 550 by the time I'm done, over 550. So it is very long. I wanted to have this finished before Vogue Knitting Live this year, but that didn't happen. It's okay. My problem with it right now is that it's so heavy that I'm a thrower knitter, that it's really weighing down my right wrist as I throw the yarn, and it's kind of giving my wrist some trouble. So I've been trying to knit continental. I can knit both ways, but I'm faster at throwing than I am at continental. So I've been doing continental and been picking up speed for that, which is great, but I just didn't get it finished in time for Vogue Knitting Live, but that's okay. I'm so close to finishing this project. It has this amazing progress keeper on it that I got from Tilting Planet, this little glass slipper Barbie shoe. It's not really glass, it's like a resin, but I love it. And I haven't taken you through all of the yarns that I've used for this before, so let me go ahead and do that. I'll start with color A. Primrose Yarn Company in Between the Lines. It's this really gorgeous pink. This is the brightest or most pink one of them all. And then that fades into Sweet Stressfolk, which is a colorway that Stacy of Stress Knits dyed for myself, Julie, and her to kind of represent our friendship. And then that fades into Mika and Jafar, which was a custom colorway I commissioned from Julie of Sweet Sparrow Yarns to kind of represent my cats, her take on them. Which fades into Bell Jar by Stress Knits. Fades into Knitfolk by Stress Knits. And then the final color is Chelsea Morning, and that's by Sweet Sparrow Yarns. I'm loving how it's turning out. I keep saying and imagining that this is what I imagine the White Witch in the Chronicles of Narnia, like if she were gonna wear a shawl, this would be the shawl she would wear. And I'm very aware the lighting is it's kind of dark in here right now because the light's fading fast, so hopefully I can improve that in editing and it's not too dark to see, but it's a beauty. I can't wait to wear this. I'm gonna get so much use out of it. Brioche is just so squishy and it's so like warm and cozy. I cannot wait to wear this shawl, but it is a beast. And I've still got somewhere in like the 20 rows realm left to go, so I'm getting there, but it is taking a bit. The next project I'm going to show you is one you are very familiar with if you watched Vlogmas, and that is my granny stripe blanket. So I had a goal through Vlogmas that I wanted to knit 1 row a day for each day of Vlogmas, and I actually haven't counted to see if I made that goal or not. I'm sure I got pretty close. I didn't knit a row every single day, but some days I knit more than one I crocheted more than one, for example. So I'm somewhere in that realm. Let me count. 19. I have 19 rows and it was 24 days of Vlogmas. So I'm 5 rows short. That's okay. I made tons of progress on this. Look at how beautiful it is. Ugh, I love it. I crocheted somewhere in the queen size realm, which amounts to 340 to 360 stitches on the initial cast on. I don't know exactly how much it was. If you want details on my blanket, they're all in my project page, from the pattern to the tutorials I used to whether or not I use magic knots to how many colors I do in the same row. Anything and everything you could possibly want to know about this blanket is on my Ravelry project page. And if you still have questions after you've read that, feel free to message me about it, but there should be everything you want to know in there. So the majority of my colors, this progress keeper was the start of Vlogmas, and that's what I did through Vlogmas. And the majority of the colors that I used throughout Vlogmas were the Sweet Sparrow Yarns Advent Calendar, which Julie gave me as a birthday present this year. So I loved opening that Advent Calendar. Next year, if you are on the fence about it, I cannot recommend an Advent Calendar highly enough. Obviously, Julie's was beautiful. It was so fun to just open up a little treat every day. But yeah, my blanket's wonderful. It's like usable. It keeps me warm now, like while I'm crocheting on it, so that's pretty great. So yeah, granny stripe blanket. I have this amazing little bird bag, and I love the little hummingbird charm that's on it, and this kind of has my tools and notions that I use for my granny stripe. It's just for the granny stripe. So it has my little scissors, my crochet hook, and then this right here I used it at least while I was at home for kind of my upcoming minis selection to have some choice, but I have like 3 giant tote bags that are just full of minis from old projects and things that people have sent me, so I just love, and things I've bought of course too, so I just love having these little mini stash. I'm going to free the minis that are in here and put them into one of the tote bags because this is one of my favorite project bags, so yay. the next project I'll show you is a new design project. So many people, not so many, but a few, whenever I post a new pattern, so far it's been mostly socks. I have 2 sock patterns and a hat pattern. And I love socks. I love knitting socks. But lots of people, they just don't like knitting socks, or they just are intimidated by the idea of learning to knit socks. So this is for you, non-sock knitters. A mitten, and you might recognize this pattern. It is the Clark sock pattern, but it's been adapted to mittens. So the Clark socks, of course, are fingering weight. This mitten pattern is DK weight, so I've kind of had to redo the mats and cut stitches here and add some there. So this is the vamped version, the DK vamped version. There are going to be 2 sizes, I'm hoping. This one's the larger size. Still have to do the thumb, obviously, for the right hand mitten here. And I'm going to do a smaller size as well. They're just so cozy. And it's got the little cable detail in the front there, the one that kind of goes up the back of the leg for the sock pattern. I just wanted to make a small little nod to it in the mitten pattern. They're so cozy and warm, and I'm knitting this out of Tuscan Knits yarn in the Wickwood colorway. Isn't this so gorgeous? It's like a foresty green, and it has hints of blue in it. I'll show you the stockinette side of the mitten, the palm, I guess. Look how gorgeous that is when that knits up. Oh, I just love it so much. So pretty. So pretty. And so cozy and warm. Hello. And that's living in one of my new favorite project bags. I just can't get enough of this project bag right now. It was a gift from Raquel. And it doesn't beat you over the head with the Snow White theme, but it is Snow White. And it has this awesome little Snow White, upside down, Snow White zipper pull on it, and it's technically a button, a shank button that she's turned into a zipper pull. So cute. I love this bag so much. So those are the Clark mittens. Hope to release that pattern pretty soon. So those are kind of my active whips. So now I'm going to kind of show you the few non-active whips that I have that I've just been working on and off. There's not too many of them really. The first one, living in my Sweet Sparrow Yarns project bag, is a second pair of underwing mitts. So I showed you in the previous episode that I had already, losing needles, that I had already knit 1 pair for myself. I loved them. And so I'm knitting this second pair as a gift. So I have 1 done minus the ribbing on the thumb. And then I'm about halfway through the chart for the second one. Same colors that I used in my own. I'm using Lily Pad by Miss Babs. And then I'm using this colorway by Skeiny Dipping. It was a leftover from my Exploration Station, but I can't remember what the name of the colorway is. So if you check my project page for my Exploration Station shawl, you can find what colorway this is. And this is a colorwork mitten, if you haven't heard of it. It's called the Underwing Mitts, and the pattern is by Erica. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce her last name. It's like Hauser. But these are pretty popular right now. I'm sure you've probably seen quite a few of these floating around. And it has this gorgeous, let's see this over here, this gorgeous moon phase chart before it gets into the moth chart. So almost done with those. No rush really for them. I'll just get done with them when I get done with them. The recipient doesn't know she's getting them anyway, so there's not really a rush. So that is a project I'm working on. Another non-active whip, but hope to bring it back soon, are my Knitfolk socks. These are socks that were dyed out of nomadic yarn, self-striping in the Knitfolk colorway. Ashley was inspired by a photo that I posted on Instagram, and I said that, if I could describe myself in a palette, it's what it would be. I just love neutrals, so like gray browns, like the one here. I love gray. sage color. This is probably a little bit brighter than what I would pick for myself, but I love sage, chartreuse, and then kind of like a cranberry red. I have a really long leg here, a 2x2 rib, fish lips kiss heel, and I've already started decreasing for the toe. I just need to get it on some DPNs to finish that. And this adorable Progress Keeper, or not Progress Keeper, stitch marker I got at Rhinebeck this year. And I have a Progress Keeper from Tilting Planet. This is her classic. That's kind of like the gumdrop ball that has all the colored, multicolored stars. So I'm almost finished with that. This one should be coming back soon, and then I'll be starting the second sock. Here's the cake. Absolutely stunning. I love knitting with Ashley's yarns. Her socks are definitely some of my, or socks that I've knit out of her yarn are definitely some of my go-to socks when it comes to socks that I wear the most. She is soon to release, probably by the time this episode goes up, it'll already be up on Ravelry, or not Ravelry, excuse me, Etsy. This colorway called the Burrow. I am obsessed with it. I love it so much. She just has this way of picking out the right shades of colors that just really speak to the subject matter that they are about. Like, for example, my other socks that I've knit from her are Fred and George, which are the Weasley twins in Harry Potter, and they are not colors I would ever wear myself, like, you know, in any kind of garment, but for the fandom that they represent, it's absolutely perfect. All of her colorways are like that. So if you haven't heard of Nomadic Yarns for some reason, definitely check her out on Etsy. They are worth every penny and are so fun to knit with. Self-striping yarn just makes socks fly by because you just want to get to the next stripe. So that's another currently non-active whip, but especially as I'm like easing back into my work schedule and start knitting Subway socks again, I'm really dying to finish my What the Fade shawl just because I'm so close to being done with it, and it's a huge work in progress that I just can mentally get out of my head. So once I kind of finish that, then I'll be turning my attention back to socks. I feel the pull to socks again right now. I kind of took a break on them for a little bit, but I'm just feeling like I want to knit socks right now, and sweaters too. I have a couple sweater quantities of yarn in my stash right now, which I'll show you in a little while. I've never been the person who has stashed sweater quantities. I've never been in that position in my life, but I cannot wait to knit with those. So sweaters and socks, those are my big things right now. Socks are just always going to be something I love to knit, and I wear them more than any other knitted item that I make, period, for sure. Alright, the next one. This is a sock that I briefly cast on with a design idea, but then I discovered somebody else had knit something that was sort of similar to my idea, so I ripped out what I had to the ribbing and I'm putting it on pause until I can kind of come up with a more original design for such a heavily variegated / speckled yarn. This is a homespun house in her bookworm colorway, which, if I'm being honest, I mean, I love the colors. I love these kind of cranberry reds, and there's chartreuse in this, and I love these colors, but the colorway name is honestly what got me. Bookworm. I worked in bookstores for 6 years while I was in college and right after I graduated while I was applying for my jobs. So I just yeah, reading books, I'm all about it. I don't actually read as much anymore though, which is a shame. Now I've kind of shifted my interest into podcasts. I'm obsessed with podcasts, even non-knitting related ones, so that's kind of how I digest a lot of information these days. But the colorway name Bookworm, it totally got me. It's just such a gorgeous colorway. It's her MCN base, Merino Cashmere Nylon. And this is just a 2x2 rib right now, 64 stitches on a size 0 needle. So like I said, once I come up with a design that I think will work best for a variegated or speckled yarn. A lot of my designs are really cabled things. I love cables, and I don't feel like highly variegated speckled yarns really show off cables that well. So it has to kind of wait until I can find something else. Maybe some sort of really cool textured pattern or slip stitches. Slip stitches show variegated and speckled yarns off really well. So we'll see. That's on hold until I think of something better. And that's in my Maker's Haven project bag that she made for me last year in a Vlogmas, not Vlogmas, but a Advent swap. I love this bag. Mostly Rifle Paper Company fabrics. I've talked about this bag a lot, but if you're new, I just have to show it. I have to show it every time. There's this little box here that has a little kitty in it. I just love it. I think it's so funny and cute. Nearing the bottom of the basket. This is in a bag made for me by Dawn, who is Dawn and Callie. I'm sure a lot of you probably follow her. She doesn't have a podcast that I'm aware of, at least, but her Instagram is absolutely beautiful. And she just sent me this as a surprise, and with some other delicious chocolates and yarn, and I love this bag so much. And she has a little tulip, lilac, not exactly sure, lavender, embroidered on it here that she did. 2 little pockets in the front, which I love. And this is holding a pretty old whip. I don't know why I've stopped working on it, honestly, because I love socks on a plane, it's one of my favorite sock patterns. It's just a very simple 1 cable detail. I've knit this pattern 2 times now. 1 cable going down the entire sock. And all of these yarns are, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it? One of my favorite, Knox Yarn Co. Knox Yarn Co. And it's not a self-striping yarn, it's a scrappy sock. So maybe that's why it's been taking me so long. I bought these minis, fell in love with the colors, but I wanted to use some of it in my blanket as well. So I decided that I would stripe the leg and then do the entire foot in this other colorway of hers that I had called Bifrost. She sent this to me as a gift. So I striped in these other colors, put in a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and now I'm working on the foot of the first sock. So I have all of the other colorways here in the bottom of the bag. I don't know the names of these, but I love these socks. They're so soft, especially this yarn right here. This is like a cloud. This has to have cashmere in it, I would guess. Either that or it's 100% superwash merino. Let me see. I have the tag here. Yep, it's got cashmere, 80-10-10. Not surprising. It is so soft. I love Danielle's yarn. Knox Yarn Co. is one of my favorite indie dyers. So yeah. I knit about 6 rows, I think, maybe 8. I can't remember for sure. It's 2 repeats of the cable on the socks on a plane pattern. So 2 repeats of the cable per color. Love those. So this is a long-term whip for a while. I don't know why it's taken me so long to finish it. I do really want to finish them though, especially looking at it now. I'm getting excited about it again. And then last but not least is a new design project that I started and then had to rip out. So if you've been watching Vlogmas, you know about this. I submitted a design proposal to O-Wool. O-Wool yarn is just some of the best value for money but gorgeous yarn I could recommend. I think it would be great for sweaters. It's got a wonderful twist to it, so it will have a lot of integrity depending on the gauge that you knit it at. The colors, her dyeing sense is fantastic. She's one of those people where every single shade of the color she dyes I like. So I don't typically gravitate toward yellow, for example, but she has this really amazing mustard seed yellow, and I'm just like, so beautiful. So everything she dyes, I love. So I started knitting a new design. It's a wrap design in her oyster mushroom colorway. And this is the worsted weight, O-Wash worsted. All of her yarn is certified organic, by the way. And I had to rip it out. I had about a skein and a half knit into this wrap. It's going to be a 4 to 5 skein worsted weight project. I had about a skein and a half knit into it, and something about the edging detail was just bothering me. And it was keeping me from working on it because it's a simple design, and it was keeping me from working on it because this edging detail, I was not liking it. Julie, my friend Julie, who's Sweet Sparrow knits, she asked me, like, oh, how's it going? And then I just like crumpled. I fell apart and was like, I don't know, I'm having trouble because I love the design, but this aspect of it I don't like, and it's something to do with the edging, so it means I'd have to rip out the whole thing. And she was just like, you know what you have to do. Like, you already know. It's just, you just needed someone to talk it through. And she was so right. So I ripped the whole thing out. I'm going to start over. I'm pretty sure I know how to fix the issues I was having with it. So I'm going to recast that on as soon as I finish my What the Fade. So once I finish that big project, I feel like I'll have the mental clarity to cast on this new one. So I'm really excited. I just feel with really simple designs, the details have to be just right. They have to be perfect. And I'm not a perfectionist by any stretch of the imagination. But when it comes to designs, especially like I said, ones that are really simple in nature, if the details aren't right, it just kind of, it's not as good. It's no good. So I just had to make the executive decision to rip it back. And that's living in my project bag made for me by Sharon, who is Seashore Sharon. She made this project for me out of rescued and felted sweaters. How cool is this? Look at this. This thing is a work of art. By far one of the most original project bags I own. It's so cool. And the zipper is just so like solid and like easy to use. It doesn't catch on anything. I love it so much. Love it. But yeah, Seashore Sharon. I'm not sure if she sells these bags or if she just kind of makes them for fun, but she did send me one that she made and I treasure it. Absolutely love it. And those are the whips. So that's really all I have in the whip department, honestly. It's not that much, like I said. I mean, I have a few active things. A lot of it's just socks. I'm ready to cast on some new stuff. I just feel that I need to finish that What the Fade first before I can do anything else. Otherwise, it's just gonna like mentally drag me down. I'm dying to cast on some sweaters right now. And like I said, finish up some socks. So that's really all I have to show you as far as the works in progress go. I am now going to show you a lot of acquisitions that I have, but in the context of what I'm going to be knitting with them. So it's kind of like a dream knitting / these are yarns I've acquired for these specific purchases. Not all of them were things that I purchased. A lot of them were gifts. So I'll just, caveat that. And let's get started with the dream knitting and acquisition segment. Oh, but before I do, sewing. So as you will know if you watched Vlogmas, I was a quilting machine for Vlogmas. I made 4 quilts since we last spoke to each other. It's insane. Unfortunately, I have not a single one to show you, but if you follow me on Instagram or if you've seen Vlogmas, you will have seen the quilts. The first one is the Modern Americana quilt. That's the one I made for my mom, and I'll insert pictures for you to look at. I'm not sure what side they'll be on. I love this one. It's probably my favorite of the bunch, if I'm being honest. I just love the pattern and the colors that I use, the fabrics together. It's just my favorite. So I've had several requests, actually, for me to write up quilt patterns for these, and I think I've decided that I will do that. I haven't decided what platform I'm going to sell them on yet because Ravelry, as we all know, is for knitting and not for sewing patterns, so I'm kind of still trying to figure that out, but I am in the process of writing up these quilts as patterns to sell for you to be able to make them yourself. So I kind of self-draft, I self-draft all of the quilts that I made for my Christmas presents. So the first one was the Modern Americana. The second one I made was for my dad, and that one I'm calling the Alchemy Quilt. I named it the Mossy Marvel at the time, but to me it just kind of has this like alchemy vibe to it. I don't know, I just really liked it and that's what I'm gonna call it. So that's the Alchemy Quilt. It's composed of a lot of triangles that you can like lay out in so many different ways, but the way that I chose to do it was kind of in this diamond shape. And he loved it, obviously. The third one was the Hex Appeal Quilt, which somebody on Instagram, I'm forgetting your username now, her husband suggested it, and so she suggested it to me, and I loved it. It was absolutely perfect. So the Hex Appeal Quilt is the one that I made for my sister. Another self-drafted pattern. I used all corals and navies, probably about 20 different fabrics in that one. It was so fun to get to do all of this color play with the fabrics. Not Coral is not a color I typically go for myself for my own home decor, but my sister loves the kind of coral poppy colors, so that combined with the navy made this beautiful hexagon quilt. And then the last one is the one I made for Julie, and that is the Floral Cottage quilt, which if you know Julie at all, Sweet Sparrow Yarns, you know these colors are like perfect for her. They're so her. It's crazy. So I knew she would love it. And I can, again, self-drafted the pattern for that one. It kind of has this Weasley-esque wabi-sabi vibe to it because the squares are so kind of, not wonky, I mean, it kind of looks wonky in some ways because the fabrics I used were gingham in a lot of ginghams in it. So if you don't cut them like exactly straight, they kind of have a tilt to them, which I like. It kind of looks cool. So the squares have this kind of wonky random approach to it, but the grid that the quilt has kind of in between the squares gives it a little bit of structure, so it doesn't make it feel overwhelmingly crazy and has some visual rest to it, I think. So I really love the Floral Cottage too. I love them all really for different reasons, but I think if I had to pick one that I was gonna keep for myself, something about that contemporary Americana wine, it just really is doing it for me. I love it. For the pattern, that's the first one I'm writing up right now. I've renamed it, and I'll talk about the name at a later date, just because I don't want Americana to feel limiting to people when they're trying to envision their own fabrics that they use in it. You don't have to use Americana colors in your quilts if you don't want to, especially if you're not from here. Who knows what you're into, but I just didn't want the name to feel limiting to people who potentially wanted to use other colors in it. Sometimes I know it can be hard to like imagine the possibilities when a name is like so specific to the idea that the sample is made out of. So those are the 4 quilts that I made. I was very busy this Christmas season. I also knit a Quadri Hat, which I don't really have, but I have a picture I can put in here to show you. That's a pattern by Michelle Wong. I will definitely be making another one of those for myself. I really want one in red. I'm in a very red mood right now. I really would like to knit a red sweater as well, the Knox sweater by Michelle Wong. That's some dream knitting, but yarn I don't actually have in my stash for yet. So, excuse me. So that is a sweater that's definitely upcoming in the queue. Will probably be my second sweater of the year, potentially my first, but I don't already have the yarn for it, so we shall see. But I love that Knox sweater by Michelle. It's absolutely stunning. All right, so that's the sewing that I have to show you. And next we will move on into my kind of dream knitting and acquisitions mixture. Okay, I'm gonna start with the yarn that I got at Vogue Knitting Live yesterday. So I was fortunate enough to snag these skeins of junk yarn. Her updates are really difficult to catch. I'm not usually in the business of like fighting people to get yarn online. So I was so happy to find out that Kemper was going to be at Vogue Knitting Live this year because I've been dying to try her yarn. Her colors are just so beautiful. So I finally had an opportunity to buy some. This right here is the Amalthea colorway. It's one of the first ones that she dyed. And it's this stunning kind of mint and blush with a lot of really sharp speckles in it. It's gorgeous. This is the Smooth Sock 4-ply base, 75/25 superwash merino and nylon. And then the second one that I got is Brigitte, which I think is off of Brigitte Bardot, but I'm not for sure about that. And this is on her Boss Sock 2-ply, and it's an 80/20. And it's this really beautiful peachy blush color that has speckles of a darker purple in it. This one, I'm not for sure yet, but I could definitely see this being a shawl. I did only buy the one skein. I broke my no single skeins of sock yarn rule for this because I knew I just really wanted to knit socks out of these colors. I knew I already wanted to buy this one, but when I saw this, I was like, that's really pretty too. I could see this being a shawl, so I might buy a second one or potentially design one, you know? Design a shawl with this. Wouldn't that be gorgeous? So yeah, so that's junk yarn. And then the second purchase that I made, totally enabled by Ellie of Skein Deer Knits, who you might have seen has just been so like creative explosion with her color work projects. She is a Norwegian who lives in London, and she's been like so amazing with these color work designs that she's been putting out lately. So if you haven't checked her out, I highly recommend it if you're into traditional color work knitting. Some really gorgeous stuff that she knits, and she's a very speedy knitter too, so she just really kind of like churns out the projects to show you. But she enabled me to buy her favorite yarn, and it's a Norwegian yarn called Finilgarn. Not sure, but these are going to be for a pair of colorwork mittens that I've had my eye on, and they're called The Secret. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and somebody knit them in a color scheme that I am so obsessed with. I'm just gonna copy it straight out. I just loved it. So this will be my background color. I can't read the colorway names if they are on here. Not a clue. This will be the red for the robin. I'm pretty sure The Secret is a reference to The Secret Garden, and it's the robin in The Secret Garden. This kind of charcoaly gray color for the contrast on the robin. And then there's a bit of filigree kind of designs in it that uses this kind of more cornflower blue. So these are going to be for that mitten project, which I'm dying to cast on. I might cast that on as my subway knitting this week. We shall see. But that's the other purchase I made at BKL this year. The next bit of yarn are my Sweet Sparrow yarns acquisitions, her Pajama Day colorway. I can definitely see myself doing a sock design out of this yarn, or buying 3 more skeins to make a sweater out of it at some point. So whichever inspiration comes first, that's what I'll do. If I'm hit with an inspiration that needs a more subtle sock yarn for the design, then I'll do this. Or if I really want to knit a sweater and this would be the perfect yarn, then I'll buy 3 more skeins from her. So this is her Pajama Day colorway. I just think it's so stunning. It's like a pillowy, creamy white color that has kind of like a... It's not quite blush because it's not pinky enough to be blush really, but it's kind of got purple undertones and brown undertones to the pink, and then these speckles of darker purple in it. I just think it's a stunning colorway. This is Pajama Day, and this is on her nuthatch base, I believe. Yep, nuthatch base. And that is 75/25 superwash merino nylon. Love that. And then as part of my Christmas present this year, Julie included 2 skeins of yarn, and this one is her Peppermint Mocha colorway on her Stellina base, which is gold Stellina. I really love knitting Christmas socks. Every year I knit a pair of Christmas socks. I don't think I did this year actually, because I was so obsessed with my other projects that I was working on during Vlogmas and just no time at all with the quilts, but I love knitting Christmas socks. I wear them all the time. And then this other skein, a colorway I am obsessed with, one of my favorites of hers all time, including Pajama Day, but this one as well. This is the Blackberry Moose colorway. It's stunning, absolutely stunning. I could definitely see this being good for a shawl, or again, another sock design. I tend to choose kind of the lighter colors for sock designs because it shows off the pattern better. So those are my Sweet Sparrow yarns acquisitions. The next acquisition is one that I purchased while, it was during the Vlogmas time period, but Danielle of Knox Yarn Co., she has this colorway called Memento Mori, and it's a reference to a TV show. I want to say maybe it's Twin Peaks. I don't know because I don't watch Twin Peaks. I can't remember what it's a reference to. Either way, I'm just obsessed with this colorway. It's purple and browns. Some sharper speckles in there. I love this. I just want to knit a vanilla sock out of it, or pattern in the front and vanilla on the back, just to like let the yarn show. I've never knit a pair of Hermione's everyday socks before. Is that not crazy? Maybe I'll knit Hermione's out of this. But yes, Memento Mori by Knox Yarn Co. Again, like I said, one of my absolute favorite indie dyers. The next ones were part of that gift that I mentioned from Kelsey of Primrose Yarn Company and Eric of Sticks Plus Twine. She gave me this pink hazel project bag, and she also sent these 2 skeins. This is her Fashionably Late colorway. Creamy base with some really bright, fun speckles on it. And then this is her Bramble colorway. I am obsessed with this one. I saw recently she posted a picture of somebody who knit a swatch out of the Bramble colorway, and it is incredible. I cannot wait to knit with this. This is also a giant skein. How much is in here? 595 yards. Yeah, 150 grams in this right here. I think this one's not. Yeah, this one's 100. 150 grams in this skein of sock yarn. Insane. But yeah, this is the Bramble colorway. Absolutely stunning. Love that. And then along with those two skeins, she sent me a sweater quantity. I was not mentally prepared. A sweater quantity of her Maple Leaf colorway. And this is on her MCN DK weight base. And this I'm going to knit the Akira cardigan out of. It's a cardigan I am in love with. Yoko Hata, I want to say, is the name of the designer. I can't remember for sure, but I'll definitely be putting in a picture. This is the cardigan that's the cardigan I'm going to knit with this colorway right here. Maple Leaf. It's like a honey chartreusey, I don't know, golden yellow color. And again, I said I wasn't really the biggest yellow fan necessarily, but this is a shade of yellow that I can definitely get down with. So I have a sweater quantity of that. That will definitely be the Akira cardigan. These will definitely be socks. I love this colorway so much. And then this will probably be socks for my sister, quite honestly. This isn't a colorway that necessarily kind of goes with my aesthetic, but my sister Laura, she'll love this. And I forgot one of my Sweet Sparrow acquisitions from her advent calendar. The final day you get a full skein of yarn, and this is the skein from her advent calendar, final day, and this is Winter Morning. How stunning is this skein of yarn? It's beautiful. I cannot get over it. When I saw it, there was a gasp. I love that. And then I also ordered probably about a month and a half ago, maybe closer to 2 months ago now, I ordered one of Ashley's dyed to order skeins of Mischief Manage from Nomadic Yarn. So this is another Harry Potter self-striping yarn. I only have one other of hers in my stash, and it's the Lupin colorway. I've been kind of hoarding it because I only have one left now. So now that I have another one, I don't feel as guilty to knit it because I'm almost finished with that Knitfolk colorway that she's knit for me. It's just perfect for the Marauders map. The last sweater quantity of yarn that I'm going to show to you is from a dyer who unfortunately doesn't dye anymore. So I debate on whether or not really to show this to you, but I just kind of wanted to use it as an example of how powerful I think Ravelry can be. Cat's Kettle. She is a dyer who unfortunately does not dye anymore. And I had 2 skeins already in my stash of her Eggs, Eggs, Eggs colorway, which was a collaboration that she did with the Grocery Girls. I love this colorway so much. In the skein, it doesn't look like something I would go for, but something that Katrina did that I really loved on her Etsy shop was that she always included a knitted swatch of all of her yarns to show you how it would knit up. And knit up, this just looks like a totally different yarn to me than it looks in the skein. Absolutely love it. So I have 2 skeins of that, and when I saw the knitted swatch, I thought that it would just make the best sweater, and that I would acquire 2 more skeins eventually when I had the funds to do so. And then of course, she unfortunately stopped dyeing, which I don't have any information about, so I can't really offer anything in that way. But I took to Ravelry and looked up the colorway name and saw to ask if, or see if there were any that were available for purchase. Unfortunately, none of them were listed as for sale, but for a few people that had them, I just messaged them in a direct message and asked if they would be willing to sell it to me because I would like to make a sweater out of it with the ones I already had. And there were fortunately 2 people who were kind enough to sell them to me. One of them I bought, and one of them just said, you know what, I'm not going to use this and I want this to go to a good home, so I would be happy to give it to you, which was such a kind thing to do. Thank you so much. So I acquired 2 extra skeins of Cat's Kettle in the Eggs, Eggs, Eggs colorway. I designed the Cat's Kettle logo, actually. Fun fact. I'm a graphic designer, by the way, in case anyone didn't know that. A graphic designer in my like day-to-day job. But yeah, I love this colorway so much. So this will definitely be a sweater. I'm not sure which one yet, but it will for sure be a sweater because I just love the colorway so much that I knew I needed a sweater in it at some point. This yarn is so soft. Cat's Kettle yarn. It was incredible. I have a couple pairs of socks knit out of it and some in my stash that I'm hoarding. I knit a shawl for my mom out of her yarn before. I just really, really love it. So if you do have it in your stash, I would really recommend knitting with it. It's beautiful yarn, and if you want to try it, you might see if you can find some on Ravelry. That's how I got these. So thank you so much to those people who both sold and gave me the yarn. And that's it as far as yarn goes. It's so dark in here right now. I hope that it's not like the darkest podcast ever and that I don't have to like re-record this whole thing because it is pretty dark in here. I can turn on this lamp here. There we go. I don't know if that's making me darker. I don't know what that noise was. God, living in a New York apartment sometimes, it's questionable. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did like it, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe. It's not for like my own personal enjoyment. It just helps people find the channel more easily and promotes the channel so that we can expand our Brooklyn Knitfolk family. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!